What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my analysis of the Midpoint banner. We didn't really get a FEH channel for this Midpoint, just the trailer and the cinematic, but we do have the Midpoint quest and other things for the celebration. So this banner does have Ascended Fur as the sword infantry unit, so she's gonna be another god sword with her preferred weapon, Vassal Saint Steel, so this gives her minus some special cooldown, and it does have Time Pulse 4 built in, so she's able to pre-charge something like Vital Astra right away and keep it looped up. Keep in mind that this is Time Pulse 4, so even after the combat you're able to get the special charge if the special cooldown count is at max, and that's why it is pretty much Time Pulse 4. So she can make use of Vital Astra, which I really wish she came with, because you will have to fodder that ultimately if you want to use her at max invest or at like high invest. And she can also run godlike reflexes, but Vital Astra is something that is a lot easily usable with her weapon with that Time Pulse 4. And then she can get +5 to all of her stats and also has 40% damage reduction on foe's first attack. And then she can debuff the speed and defense of the foe depending on their maximum special cooldown count ×2 -11. So this is definitely helpful against a lot of the foes that have low cooldown specials, because if they have lower cooldown specials, you're going to be able to get even more debuff. And the minimum debuff that you can get out of this is going to be -3. And again, like I said, the lower the cooldown, the better it is, as you can get even more debuff on the opponent. And this is really useful for a unit like Fur because she's trying to function as a god sword. So having these speed debuffs is really helpful, especially when you run like Close Call 4 on her and get that phantom speed. So it can definitely help her against a lot of the other meta threats, which are also fast. And finally, if her speed is more than or equal to foe speed +5, then she's able to get the half version of tempo skill, the offensive half, which is basically null guard. So it can be helpful for her, but I wish this was something else that could just help her in like omni tanking. But overall, she's going to be functioning as a pretty good god sword, a top tier 1. But I don't really think that she's like the absolute top of the god swords like Lucia and also Fallen Female Violet, who does have a Divine Pulse and is also unique with the Vantage that she can do. So yeah, Ascended Fur is good if you really like her, but the competition for god swords is so insane and we have so many of them now at this point. She does have pretty high speed stat at base 46, which does have a super boon. And keep in mind that you can actually get a free Ascended asset on any kind of Ascended unit, and they don't really use a Floret. So if you spark her, then you can just go with the plus speed IV right away and get that speed super boon and make her work as a god sword. She's got Glimmer, which like I said is replaced by Vital Astra if you're trying to use her at high invest. And then she also has attack speed finish 4, which is amazing for fodder. And then we have got the tier 4 version of null follow-up and physical null follow-up. So they've pretty much distributed the tier 4 version of null follow-up into halves, the physical half and the magical half. So she's got the physical half, and basically this can inflict -4 speed and defense debuff on the foe, and it has got the full null follow-up present in the skill, and you can also cut through the damage reduction skills of the opponent by half. So we have seen this before on Duel Lift, for example, where you're not completely neutralizing the damage reduction of the opponent, but just cutting it in half. So if you're facing a Dragon Wall opponent, then they're still going to be able to get like 20% damage reduction out of their skill instead of having 40%. So this is definitely helpful against a lot of the damage reduction that we've got in the metagame. But still, I don't think that this is the best scale for a god sword, because ultimately you want to get the damage reduction, you want to get the phantom speed built in from something like Close Call 4 or Repel 4. So I think that's a lot better. And physical null follow-up is going to be useful on units that are not like god swords, but they are fast enough, or if they are range units like archers or dagger units, so they can make use of the physical null follow-up to just cut through the damage reduction skills by half. And keep in mind that this is a 300 SP slot B skill, so you can actually use this in arena. And then she's got attack speed Oath 4, which is helpful, but she can also run, speed smoke 4 just to stack up even more damage reduction. So overall, she's a good unit, but in a very saturated class type, and she's not at the cream of the class type like Lucia or Fallen Female Violet, in my personal opinion. So now we have other units as well, and they are from Binding Blade. So we have got Noah here as a Lance Cavalier, and he's definitely pretty unique because he's able to provide some unique support, and we can actually see his stats here. So Noah does provide special cooldown count -1 to himself with his preferred weapon, and he also provides the dot status and the dull alt status to the support partner that is present within 2 spaces. So that is extremely good and useful support, because there's no other support unit in the game who can provide dodge as a status. And we have seen the dull alt status before from Valentine Lucina and Valuria's Weapon Refine, and it is definitely really helpful for tanking a lot of the threats which may have some kind of attack buff. So overall, this is going to be able to make him stand out as a support unit, because you're just going to be able to use him with some kind of Omni tank and stack up damage reduction on them. And keep in mind that this dodge is going to be helpful on non-infantry units as well, and fast flyers like Chloe or maybe Brave Claude. And even fast armors are going to be appreciating the dodge status, but I think that this is definitely going to be really helpful for a lot of the flyers, because they can run guard bearing 4 and stack up even more damage reduction with the dodge status that Noah can provide. So that is really useful as a support. And then he has got the condition where if he's adjacent to one or less ally, then he's able to get +5 to all of these stats, and also deals true damage based on 15% of his attack, which is definitely pretty high at base 45 with a super boon. And this does include the AoE specials as well, so you can actually run AoE specials on him, and he can definitely nuke hard, because that, true damage is going to be getting added into the AoE special as well. So I'm really happy with how they made Noah and made him a unique support unit. So again, he's going to be one of those units which is going to be useful for Omni tanking units, for providing them this dot support and just, providing them the dull alt status as well. So he's going to be useful, and this kind of status effect is good because it's emblem proof. It is not nullified by the feud effect. So that is really good, and visible status effects are useful there. So that is Noah, and he does have flow guard and also alarm speed defense. So it's useful, I guess, if you want to give that to Brave Crom. And then we have got our next unit in Dorothy. So she is the 4-star focus unit, and she's a colorless infantry archer. We definitely have a pretty good weapon refined for Tanya right now. But Dorothy can also function with like an arcane weapon or even white cap bow plus, especially with her stat spread, which is actually pretty nice with base 46 attack and base 43 speed. So she can function with those kinds of weapons if you're going to be investing into her. But other than that, she doesn't really provide the most insane fodder. She's got Defier's Bow Plus. We have seen this weapon before as well. It's just that it's present now in a bow form. And she also has speed resistance, ideal 3, which is not the greatest ideal skill, honestly. And then she also has attack res Oath 3. So this could be helpful if you're trying to fodder off some other unit for the Oath 4 skill along with some other premium skill. So it could be useful for that, but that's pretty much the fodder that she provides. But she can be a pretty nice merge project if you really like her. And she can be a really strong archer with that stat spread. So the final unit that we have on this banner is going to be a new Astro Mythic who can boost up your resistance in Heidr. So we have seen her before, even right from the start of this book. And she is finally here as an Astro Mythic unit, and she is a green mage infantry unit. She's not exactly a cavalier like Aether, and we can actually see her in action. So here she's going to be using her gold serpent skill, which is a preferred rally skill, and as you can see, she actually gets another action out of it. So unlike a lot of the rally units, she's going to be able to act afterwards after providing the support. So having 2 actions is really amazing for any kind of unit, as we have seen time and time again. So she's basically like Sane, but even better, because she has got the Spectrum Ruse effect in her weapon built in, and she also has minus some special cooldown. So the Spectrum Ruse is going to be helpful for debuffing the opponents for -4 to all of their stats, and also inflicting them with the guard status. And then she can get +5 to all of her stats in the combat, and also deals true damage based on 15% of her attack, excluding the AoE specials. So she can not only run the AoE specials like Aether, and then finally she gets the damage reduction on foe's first attack by 30%. And this damage reduction does stack up with Remote Sparrow, giving her pretty nice survivability in the player phase. But the reason why she's a pretty good support unit and easily the best rally bot in the game is because of her assist, Gold Serpent. So this acts as a preferred rally skill, so it does work with her weapon, and it is going to be giving you another action after you use it, just like 2 Change Fate of Crom, for example. So having another action is really good because you can just give the support to some kind of ally and then act afterwards with Heidr, which is going to be really helpful, especially when she can provide a ton of status effects. So the way it works is that from turn 1 onwards, you're going to be able to buff up an ally's attack and speed by rallying them, and the amount of buff that you give to them does depend on the number of turns that have passed ×2, and this can go up to max 8, which is definitely pretty good if you're having something like a bonus doubler effect then you can get even more stats. So that is basically like a better rally attack speed. And then turn 2 onward, she's also going to be able to give the Canto 1 status to herself and the target ally. And turn 3 onward, she's going to be able to give the Treachery status to herself and the target ally. And Treachery status has been seen before on Winter Cordelia with her Harmonic button and also with Harmonic Roy with his Harmonic button. So Treachery basically gives you the true damage based on the total buffs that you've got. And because she can buff up herself and the ally for attack and speed, this does have good synergy with itself. So Treachery is definitely really good for nuking. And finally, turn 4 onward, she's able to give the Dual Strike status to herself and the ally that she targets. So that is really helpful because that is basically what Winter Cordelia can do. So Dual Strike does allow you to have the player phase Brave effect if you're near an ally that also has a Dual Strike status. So pretty much the idea is that Heidr can rally up a unit, be beside them, provide them the Dual Strike effect, and allow them to get the Brave hit. And then Heidr can also get the Brave hit if she stays near that ally who just got the Dual Strike. Gold Serpent is definitely a pretty interesting support option because after turn 4, you're going to be able to give a lot of status effects to your allies and also get another action. And Heidr also gets all of these status effects as well. Having said that, I don't really think that she's like a top tier Astro Mythic. She's definitely going to be useful for the player phase teams. Like if you give Treachery to someone like Summer Edelgard, then he's going to be able to hit even harder. But yeah, mainly for the player phase teams, she's going to be useful. I mean, even tanks can make use of the Treachery status effect. They're not going to be able to make use of the Dual Strike. And I guess this can also be helpful for hit and run because she does provide you with Canto 1. So if you run like, hit and run or close call on your unit, then you can basically, retreat like 2 spaces. So it can be useful for hit and run teams basically. So she is useful unit, but I wouldn't really say that she's a top tier Astro Mythic. I'll definitely elaborate even more when I make a full review on her and go over my Astra tier list and where I rank her. So I'm definitely pretty happy with how interesting she is, but not the most insane Astra unit or a must pull in my opinion, but still really interesting nonetheless. And then she's got Remote Sparrow, which is definitely pretty good with her weapon. And then she's got Magical Null Follow-Up, which is the other half of the tier 4 Null Follow-Up skill. So this does debuff the opponent for -4 speed and resistance, and does have the full Null Follow-Up, and again, does have the damage reduction piercing effect, but it can only cut the damage reduction in half. So like I explained before on Ascended First section, this is decent enough, but there's a lot of competition. But at least for the mages, like there's not like Close Call 4 that they can run. There's Special Spiral 4 that it can run actually, but that is affected by the Scowl effect that many of the dragons can get. Like Brattle Tiki for example, or if they run the Scowl skill in their slot A. So this could be helpful against those kinds of units because you're not going to be able to trigger your special if you're running Special Spiral 4. Still, I do think that Special Spiral 4 is a very good skill for a lot of mages if you can pre-charge it, because you're going to be able to like completely pierce through the damage reduction with your specials compared to Magical Null Follow-Up where you're only going to be cutting it by half. She also has Panic Smoke 4, which is definitely pretty helpful in Aether Raids offense, especially on the player phase teams where she can go and attack and maybe just quad attack them with the Dual Strike and then panic the other units. So that is going to be Heidr, our new Astro Mythic unit. Like I said, I'll be making like a full review on her, but overall my first impression of her is decent. But like I said, she's not exactly the unit that you should be must pulling or you really need to have in my opinion. There are better Astro Mythics. And then we also have the other units from this batch. We do see Murdock here actually, and that is really interesting because Murdock is the first armor unit after 2017 in the free-to-play pool to get a preferred weapon. And his preferred weapon is really good because it gives him +3 defense and has got distant counter built in. And then he can debuff the opponent by -6 attack and defense in combat. And then he can debuff the opponent's attack even more depending on the total debuff that opponent has got on their attack, subtracted from 7. So it's kind of like Seal Attack 4 in a way, but not fully, as it doesn't really give you the guard effect or the visible debuff on the opponent after the combat. And then he has got a guaranteed follow-up attack built in his weapon. So that definitely opens up the options because he can run Hardy Fighter, Special Fighter, different skills, which is really amazing. And I cannot wait to make a full review on Murdock because he's genuinely a really good free-to-play unit and a really good free-to-play armor with this kind of preferred weapon. So that is the free-to-play unit, and we also have Saul as another free-to-play unit, and you can get him from the midpoint quests. he is a infantry healer basically with a pretty good stat spread where he has got really good speed and really good resistance and also pretty good attack. So he is a pretty nice infantry demote unit if you want to invest into him as a healer. I really wish we can get like an arcane staff soon enough. But yeah, his staff is basically a non-seasonal version of Serpentine staff that we have seen before on Halloween Zane. So it basically has Fatal Smoke built in, and it can inflict 7 damage and the deep wound status on the target and foes within 2 spaces of that target after the combat if the unit attacked. So definitely a pretty nice staff until we get like an arcane staff in my opinion. We'll be covering him in the banner review, but yeah, that's pretty much the free unit that you can also get from the quests. And that is going to be the banner. So in my opinion, this is not the most insane banner. If you like any of these units, or if you really want to get the new Astro Mythic, you can try and, summon on this banner, but we're going to be getting like 2 summer banners, which is going to be a point of interest for a lot of people. So this is not going to be like a must-pull banner or a very high value banner. It does have decent units, and it really depends on the love that you have for Binding Blade units or for the new Astro Mythic. So hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what do you think about this banner, and if you did enjoy, then make sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps you tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more free videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I wish YouTube sub boxes would show my videos as many times as we get God Swords in this game. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.